Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us Across the Fence. I'm Fran Stoddard. A good teacher makes a world of difference in the life of a student. The best teachers inspire and motivate. They impact everything from classroom learning to lifelong success. Today, we're going to meet Vermont's best. Robin Newton is the state's 2023 Teacher of the Year. She's a physical education teacher at Vergennes Union Elementary School and was chosen by the Agency of Education after reviewing dozens of nominations from across the state. Ms. Newman, along with all of the Vermont's outstanding educators, were recognized at a ceremony hosted by the University of Vermont's College of Education and Social Services. It is certainly an honor to have Robin with us this afternoon. Robin, congratulations and thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, in your opinion, what do you think are the qualities of a good and great teacher?
Wow, there's so many great teachers out there. And I think the biggest quality of a teacher is you got to be somebody who's very passionate about what you're doing. You have to put in the time and the work. You have to be extremely engaging and really energetic. You can't just come on a bad day and show those kids. You got to really beef it up a little bit. But more importantly, you have to really get to know your students. You have to connect with them and really get to know what pushes them and what drives them and try to continue to get them to be the best students they can be. But also, a good teacher needs to know that they're not alone. They have to be able to collaborate with others and be flexible and grow right alongside their students. But the biggest thing is to just really be passionate and make connections with those students.
And energy, I'm sure, with elementary
Yes.
school students. So
Yes.
you are in your 28th year at Vergennes Union Elementary School. How has experience over time changed or shaped you as an educator?
Well, experience really just means time. It's time for me to make a lot of mistakes, time for me to, understand what my successes were and learn from those, fix those units, fix those plans, and understand that, you're never going to be perfect. You have to constantly keep learning. You don't want to take experience as I know it all. I have to constantly go to conferences and learn from my peers and, take more classes or get more degrees. And so, experience is not all what it's worked up to be. You have to keep constantly learning. As a beginner teacher, I did look to those experienced teachers for some advice and some modeling. And now that I am one of the experienced teachers in the building, they come to me, and it's very humbling because I still don't think I know it all about teaching.
It's probably why you're very good at what you do. So, and this is the first time that a Vermont Teacher of the Year is a physical education teacher. So what does that say to you? What does it mean to education?
Well, honestly, I don't think I knew that stat.
Yeah.
So I'm actually very proud to represent physical education. Physical education can sometimes be looked upon as not as important as other subjects, such as, say, literacy or math. But, every subject is equally as important to our students' education and what makes them who they are. And I think this award just really proves that physical education does stand up with all the other subjects. We teach the whole child in physical education. We're teaching them physically, mentally, socially. And it's really great to be able to have this platform to push physical education in new directions. And it's an incredible honor.
Absolutely. And so what does research tell us about that connection between physical activity, student learning, and their social and emotional well-being?
The connection between movement and physical activity and, higher academic success is huge. I do a program at our school called Action-Based Learning, which incorporates movement and education together for our youngest students. Based on all this brain research, brain research has been able to see, scans of a brain of somebody who sits for 20 minutes, and then a scan of a brain of somebody who's been walking for 20 minutes. The person who's been sitting, their brain, scan lights up in blue and green and a little bit of yellow. But the person who's been walking is lit up with red and orange and yellow, which just indicates that brain is alert, that brain is active, it's ready to learn, it's ready to receive information, and it's ready to retain information. So the more we move, the better our kids have a chance of learning. Active kids, I say, equal active brains ready to learn. So we need to make sure we're not sitting so much. We need to make sure we're not cutting PE times or cutting recess times or holding kids out of recess because of something they didn't do their homework. They need to have unstructured play just as much as they need anything else. Unstructured play, brain breaks, recess, choice time. Those are all times where kids are not being told exactly what to do. And those creative play times promote creativity. It promotes imagination and problem solving, and it helps them build their social skills. I use Einstein's quote. He said it the best. Play is the highest form of research. So we just need to play a lot more.
Yeah, absolutely. And, teamwork and everything else that goes in it. You know, uh, I'm wondering how you're seeing the pandemic is it having lingering effects? A lot of people have talked about it, lingering effects on education. Is it also having lingering effects on physical education, or does it make that even more important right now?
It makes it more important right now. The pandemic was challenging for everybody in education. PE wasn't, the only one that it hurt. I don't honestly think that our kids came back with lost physical skills. I think they came back with the lack of some social skills. They weren't allowed to play on sports teams. Sports were canceled. They weren't allowed to go play with their friends. They were very socially isolated. But I think the positive part of the pandemic is the safest place during the pandemic for kids or anybody was to get outside. And I think there was a resurgence of getting outside and outdoor movement and activity. And again, that playtime, because they weren't allowed to be on a structured team with a coach telling them what to do. So they had to go outside and be creative. So I think that we discovered that passion of being back outside again. So I think that was actually a plus for us. Social skills, yeah, when they came back, I had to really focus a little bit more on how do you be a teammate? You haven't been with somebody for a while. How do you cooperate with somebody else? How do you build trust with somebody? So I know there were some pictures of my ropes course. I take kids out in the ropes course. We do problem solving games, initiative games, and we really try to get kids to understand how to work together. Yeah. So if anything, I think that's the part that I think our kids are behind, but we're catching up.
That's really interesting. So physical education has always been an important part of your life. You were an accomplished athlete at Oxbow High School and then a standout varsity softball player at UVM. Did you always envision being an educator?
I went into UVM undecided. I was kind of leaning toward physical education or science. I was really big into sciences. But being a three-sport athlete at Oxbow, and then the experience of being a Division I softball player at UVM, those experiences really made me grow. I've learned so much from those experiences, as well as my education. But I also, at the same time, had a passion and a love for being with young kids. I was a lifeguard at a young age, and I taught swimming lessons, and that was one of my favorite things to do. So it was kind of, it made sense to blend my background and passion with athletics with my love of kids.
So when it was first announced that you were the Vermont Teacher of the Year, Channel 3 News spoke with some of your students, and to describe you, the students used words like fair and positive and prepared. And one of the things your students and your peers all mentioned was how you use the Olympics as a teaching tool. So tell us about that.
Oh, do you have a lot of time? Because I the Olympics all day. The biggest thing about the Olympics is, one of my goals for teaching kids is to make sure they have confidence in themselves, to have, that don't give up attitude, to give it their best shot no matter what happens. And what better, place to teach that through is through the Olympics, with that Olympics spirit. So I've developed over the years a pretty elaborate multidisciplinary unit where our school, for pretty much 2 whole weeks, 10 days, we are all just immersed in the Olympic events. And in the classrooms, each class in our school chooses, a different country to be and represent. They study that country in their social studies classes. They read books and stories about, Olympic games and athletes. They do research papers on the Olympics or famous athletes. They're learning how to do measurements in math for how to measure a track and field event. So we really immerse it. We listen to the national anthems in music and artwork. And so our kids are really put into the whole thing in the classrooms. And then with me, they get about a month ahead of time to learn about the Olympic sports and all the games that go into each Olympic sport, whether it's a Summer Olympics or Winter Olympics. So I try to expose them to all these new sports that maybe they've never seen before. We watch videos of the athletes. We try the sports as best as we can. I try to alter the sports to make it able for them to play. And then after they've practiced, they get that confidence and they get to choose like 3 or 4 of their favorite ones, and they again go competing head to head with the other countries as if it was an Olympic event. Wow. And ribbons, first place, second place, third place. They stand on a imaginary podium and get their picture taken with their ribbon. And it's just that sense of pride. When they're not competing, they're out there cheering for their countries. You get little kids that are like, look, they're holding up the third place ribbon and they're like, I got the gold. So it's just that embodiment spirit of the games. We try to teach them the traditions of the Olympics. We have one of my favorite parts of our opening and closing ceremonies. We have a parade of nations where we march in our costumes and our flags, and we high five each other. We have a release of the doves. We take the Olympic oath and talk about sportsmanship, and we even light the torch. Now that's the highlights. So
that is the most amazing initiative.
yeah.
I just love it. I wish every school did it. And if you're just joining us, I am speaking with the 2023 Vermont Teacher of the Year, Robin Newton of Vergennes Union Elementary School. And there are 3 other Vermont teachers who are also being recognized as distinguished finalists for the award, and we've listed them on your screen. Across the Fence congratulates Amy Boker, a visual art teacher at Champlain Valley Union High School, Amy Clapp, an upper elementary teacher at Salisbury Community School, and Aziza Malik, also an upper elementary teacher at Champlain Elementary School in Burlington. So before we go, a final question for you, Robin. What happens now? You have a bully pulpit for physical education, so what are your plans?
I'm really excited. I have a full schedule. I'm traveling the country to collaborate with the other 54 state winners.
Wow.
To engage in a lot of leadership and professional development opportunities. So to take my learning to another level. But I'm also really excited to really just share and stand up for my passion for physical education and really share the importance of movement and PE and how it's so important in our education for our students, and just be a really advocate for my profession.
Terrific. And just quickly, you're a mentor for people. Did you have mentors in your life that come to mind?
I did. I mean, my parents, for one, always supported me and kind of were those ones who really pushed me, but didn't push me to be anybody else than myself, which was great. I had tons of teachers and coaches in my schooling that influenced me because they made those connections with me. My high school PE teacher, Cindy Day, was not only my PE teacher, my lifeguard coach, my softball coach, and she was just a model to somebody who pushed me outside my box, challenged me. Yeah,
Robin,
my college coaches were great. Yeah, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you, and congratulations to you, and have a great year.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for joining us across the fence. I'm Fran Stoddard. Stay well.